from Multichain Day at TOKEN2049, and we have Mathieu Baudet, founder of Linera. And today we're going to be discussing a little bit more on Linera. But firstly, Mathieu, I want to start with a question. Because you spent time as a software engineer at Meta. You also worked on the Libra project. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience there and how it brought you to creation of Linera?
Yeah, that's right. Hey, everybody. Yeah, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I love the question. So my story, basically, I got into blockchain when I was at Facebook. I was there as a software engineer working on different projects for several years before I got the opportunity to join what was called the Libra team and what became known as the Libra project and then DM. So I have a background in security protocols, like in cryptographic protocols, and basically going back to a blockchain project was kind of going back to security, and so that was actually really cool. For a moment, I really loved the tech, and I started working on the core protocol there. And once it was passed to the engineering team, this is where I find myself doing a bit of research. And so with some colleagues at Libra, basically we were thinking, okay, that's cool. We have a core of a blockchain. We want, and as you know, the main use case that we had in mind was cross-border payments. And this is where we started to worry a little bit, like, okay, what happens if, suddenly maybe there's like tens of millions, perhaps even more active users trying to do all those transfers at the same time. Because we didn't know, like, when you launch, like, is this thing going to like suddenly take off, and you have more that you can chew basically in terms of traffic. So with some of my colleagues, we're okay. We're gonna work on a backup plan. Like in case we need it, we will have like a protocol that can take like an arbitrary number of payments per second. That's kind of our and so we worked, and we had this really nice research paper called FastPay, basically, and we're okay. That's it. We have a plan B in case we need. We know what to do, and it stayed there for a while. And it was only doing payments, to be honest. So maybe not a full blockchain. It stayed there for a while, and then then a couple of years after, I had an intern. We started building extensions to that protocol, and I suddenly realized actually I can turn that into. I think I can turn that into a real blockchain. So basically, that's the story of Linera. So we initially it's a research paper, that way narrow goal, like just payments. I mean, just payments. It was pretty good actually, but and then I realized down the road, oh wow, actually, I think I can add smart contracts to that thing and turn it into a real A1 that would be massively parallel and yet still very low latency. And that's kind of how it started.
You mentioned about cross-border payments. We had this discussion for such a long time in crypto, and yet we didn't have that many disruptive solutions on the cross-border payments. We had tethers that obviously helped a lot of people transact, and we still have a majority of people preferring banking solutions because crypto is not there yet for cross-border payments.
Not yet.
Yeah, and you mentioned about low latency on the Linera side, and I also saw in your previous presentations more about agents, AI agents, and how they're going to be using financial applications. How Linera can actually disrupt the cross-border payments and bring more people and allow more people to use crypto for cross-border payments.
Yeah, so I mean, cross-border payments is one kind of obviously one kind of use case that people have looked into since the very beginning of crypto, I guess, with Bitcoin even, and of course the scale is important. You need to be able to handle the load. I think what people are excited about these days also is maybe a variation of that, where you use stable coins and you have enterprises like transacting together, and now when you do that, crypto starts shining also a lot, because you find that you can have those instant transfers between enterprises, even when banks are closed, which is nice. and obviously at very low cost and instant. No need to wait for 3 days or 2 days to see the money arrive on the other end. So that's one use case also that I think a lot of people are excited about these days. Now the story of Linera with the AI agents is pretty interesting actually, because when we started, what we didn't think about AI. I mean, I think in we started in 2022, nobody was talking about AI, and what we had in mind is really making something really low latency, really secure on the client side. We wanted the applications to be easy to develop using Web 2 APIs for front-end developers. So one thing we did is try to not rely too much on RPC providers. If you're familiar, when you are developing a front end, when you're developing an app in the blockchain, for most in most cases, you want, at some point you're gonna have the front end is gonna have to display some data to the user, right? And how do you pull some data out of a blockchain and display it to the user? The answer is basically you don't have the data locally in most cases. I mean, for traditional blockchains, you don't have the data locally, so you have to ask somebody. It's called an RPC provider. The primary RPC providers, they introduce potentially latency, they introduce costs, and they introduce security assumptions. But for front ends, when there's a human in the loop, it's been basically the solution used everywhere, and people are happy with it. But now fast forward to AI agents. So what we want is that it's not going to be a human that is actually browsing the app and clicking around and using the front end. It's going to be entirely automated, and an AI agent is going to be using the application, the blockchain application. And so now one concern that one may have is that, okay, so if I use a traditional system, the AI agent is going to same thing, no choice. If you want to read data from a blockchain, from a traditional blockchain, you have to call an RPC provider. So now you have an AI agent, which is this highly automated entity that is trying to do something, and is talking to a remote service, which is this RPC provider. And so we build blockchains to be decentralized, but at the end of the day, the agent basically is interacting with this centralized entity and is just trusting all the data that it's getting, and there's no way for the agent to cross-check or to understand what's going on if the RPC provider was hacked, for instance. So in Linera, the fact that we designed the system so that we don't need RPC providers suddenly for agents is super interesting. They can talk to the data of the user, interact with them locally, so it can be very chatty, and yet you don't have to pay fees, and it's very fast. When the agent decides to do something, they can just tell the local Linera node, and the Linera node will build the block for you, will build a transaction and just make it happen. And the nice thing about this system is basically it's like you have a trusted RPC provider, but it's running locally, and you own it as a user. So entirely, to summarize, we've explored since the very beginning a different way to build front ends so that they don't have to rely on RPC providers. Turns out, down the road, RPC providers, we think for AI agent is not optimal. It's going to create some potential concern with security. If an RPC provider is ever attacked, it's creating costs as well. And the fact that we didn't rely on them in the first place makes Linera really good for AI agents.
It's honestly fascinating how finance is changing, especially for retail users. Do you think very soon users not going to handle any financial transactions by themselves, and it's all going to be handled by AI agents?
Yeah, I mean there's this thesis that I think is very compelling. This vision that potentially applications could be completely abstracted away from users. So nowadays, when you're using an app, you're looking at the screen, and you're gonna click around, type on the keyboard. That could completely go away. I mean, what's gonna happen is basically it's like a movie. You're talking to the computer, and you say, "Hey, I'd like to do this and that. Can you?" And the computer maybe asks some questions, and then just just do it, and so you never have to. And maybe it's using in the back end different applications to reserve, to book a hotel or book a flight, and you don't even know which applications were used. You don't really care. You just want to have the flight and the hotel. And so there's this notion that applications could be entirely abstracted away, and that could really completely change how we interact with computers, basically.
And what are the potential challenges? Because we know AI can hallucinate quite a lot. And when we add financial transactions in this equation, what are the dangers and challenges and how to prevent them so user is not interacting with AI agents that can essentially like misplace funds or like send them to like a wrong place?
Yeah, for sure. And in fact, transparency is really something blockchains can really help with. So if you connect an AI agent with a bank, it's similar as I was basically saying about office providers. You connect an AI agent with a centralized service. The two of them are going to talk, and at the end, something's going to happen. And if you may find out only very late that it's like not exactly what you were expecting. And so now, ideally, if you have an AI agent that is talking to Linera, what you see is that you have a log. So whenever the agent is about to do something that is very committal, you'll as a user, you'll have this checkpoint when you're gonna actually be able to sign transactions before it gets out. Everything that happened before that point was local and is private. So you actually also not leaking what it is that you asked your agent before it's actually doing it, which I think is really cool.
And I think it's definitely really important, especially like on the security side. And from Linera perspective, you're collaborating and looking for more builders and founders to build on top of Linera. What would be a few use cases that you would like to incentivize builders to build on top of Linera?
Yeah, I mean, so we're building Linera to unlock new kinds of applications, in particular consumer applications, which I think currently would have a hard time like scaling in other platforms. So if you have an idea of a consumer app, go and come and talk to us. Like
What type of consumer app?
I have a few ideas. Okay, so and we might even like start building some of them in house, to be honest, or at least prototypes to inspire people. But we, for instance, we're seeing. I'm very interested in prediction markets. I think that you could have a future where you have lots of active users, maybe watching like a soccer game or like and interacting with the app, and for that to happen transparently on chain, you really need a big system, a big engine to guarantee that, to guarantee the quality of service when you have like potentially millions of people online and using the app. So that's one thing that typically would work on Linera that's not possible on other systems that we're going to build.
Are there more use cases? There are a lot of founders watching us right now on the live stream. Are there other use cases that Linera wants to see and incentivize builders to come?
We have a twist. We obviously, you can take existing apps, and usually we have a sort of way to twist it to make it more interesting, more low latency, more scalable. And that's true for perp dexes, for instance, that we're looking into right now. And then of course, anything that needs to be real time, anything that needs to work really well and very securely with AI agents, is gonna be working really well on Linera.
Awesome. And how they can connect with your team and explore opportunities in building on Linera?
Yes, you can find us on Discord, on Telegram. So website linera.io is going to contain all the points of contact.
Awesome. And anything else from your side that would be a valuable advice for builders that are looking to create the next like consumer application in Web3? Like how can they start?
Well, I mean, I think so. I believe so we build Linera in a way that's very friendly to AI agents. We also using, I mean, as everybody else, we're starting using coding agents, like AI coding agents internally, and I think it's very impressive what they can already do. And I think people out there should really, really include that in their in their frameworks, in their developing frameworks. So I mean, that's very basic advice, but like, you know, you need to include AI in your company nowadays.
It's definitely very important because there's no way you're going to build now without our AI. It helps to save so much time. And thank you, Mathieu, so much for your time and sharing more about Linera and your impressive background.
Thanks so much, Elena.